And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, and I want to share this article here, but before I do so, there was a post that my brother actually sent me earlier today, and it was from Breaking News, Breaking 911. Okay, and it said that according to at Kalshi, there is a 30% chance a new CV variant of concern will be reported this year. Okay, so I haven't really gotten a chance to look into the article itself, but just hearing that kind of, news being reported, and it says breaking. All right, and it's interesting that that will come out now, a few days being removed from the World Health Organization officially getting that treaty of the One Accord Treaty, which is named something else now, but that treaty has finally been put in place. All right, and we're going to read a little bit about it in the sense of what it means. All right, in the scope of prophecy, and how it actually plays out. Okay, because we know that all these things that's written. All right, and as a matter of fact, let's get that real quick. All right, in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and this is what Yahawashi warned about. Okay, he warned about multiple events. Okay, that will culminate to be known as the time of what? The time of the beginning of sorrow. Okay, so basically those things that Yahawashi mentioned, we're seeing them now. Okay, we've seen them for the past 5 years. At least it's been escalated. Right, we've seen earthquakes like never before. I mean, we're talking like high level. All right, even here in the States, was it last year? Right, brothers, we had a nice little earthquake out here, even in the East Coast. Okay, in Japan, I believe it was last year, they got rocked with like a 7.9 earthquake. It was the first of the year. Right, and then what other country? There's Turkey, right? So there's been a lot of these so-called earthquakes in different, as it's written, diverse places. Okay. And then now we're about to start seeing another sign that the Lord mentioned, which we're about to read right now. There's a book of Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." All right, and that's what you're seeing now, that vibration. Okay, the elder Yashuamba did a video, all right, going into how some of these nations, especially in the East, all right, they're starting to things are brewing. Let's just say that, all right, and basically there's violence, all right, all around the world. Okay, violent behavior. It's just not being reported on the news. Okay, but it's actually happening. You got people in different countries protesting right now. They're protesting things like the One Accord Treaty and so on and so forth. A lot of people are, getting busy. But here in Babylon, it's like ain't nothing going on. Except for them just spewing all kinds of different distractions and crazy madness. Okay? But Yahawashi said what? "For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences," plural. Okay, so we're going to highlight that, right? "And earthquakes in diverse places." Okay? All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, so let's read. "HWO runs the world." It's a pun. "Your freedom may depend on this treaty. In secret labs all over the planet, researchers are playing around with the deadliest diseases that humanity has ever known. In some cases, the goal is to make those diseases even more deadlier and even easier to spread. If a theist organization or one of our enemies really wanted to create complete and utter chaos in our society, releasing a weaponized disease is a heavily populated in a heavily populated area will be one of the easiest ways to do that. A BOMB could kill hundreds or even thousands of people, but a highly infectious pestilence could spread like wildfire all over the country and potentially kill millions of Americans. Of course, it wouldn't necessarily take a large organization to pull off such an attack. These days, just a handful of people could cook something up and release it into our society if they knew what they were doing. We have seen extraordinary advancements in the field of biotechnology. Okay, remember, problem, reaction, solution. They already shown the world their solutions, and they didn't even know problems. You have the the World Health Organization, signed a endemic treaty to say that, oh, in the future, when we have our future demics, it's almost like it's a planned thing. You know, prior to 2020, ain't nobody was thinking about a demic treaty or a demic. That was like most people. That was the first time they even heard the word pandemic. You know, like 2020, the CV made the word pandemic, all right, popular. It became a household word, you know, a household name, so to speak. And with that came the consciousness of the fake reality, right? That at any given time, at any given moment, we could go through another similar situation like we did in 2020. So now it's embedded in people's minds that it could happen, and if it does happen, we just gonna have to deal with it because they dealt with it the last time it happened. You know, people are gonna go line up to take Vanessa's because they believe in the system. Okay, people are gonna be wearing masks when it's mandated. Okay, they're gonna go along because that's just how things are. They're used to this. You know, and with all these things happening, you also have here in the States, this guy Trump is signing the One Big Beautiful Bill. Literally, that's what it's called. The One Big Beautiful Bill. Crazy, right? Crazy that this is what's going on in this country, man. It's crazy. The One Big Beautiful Bill, and within that, it's talking about how they're going to use AI governance. I think I mentioned that in the last video. Okay, but in this case, it's also going to be working also in the healthcare system. You notice they're cutting off a lot of aid, right? Government assistance and so on and so forth. And while they're doing all that, who's going to be running all of this shit? When they say a reset or a reboot, all right, they're saying that we're doing away with the way of doing things as you see now to everything being shifted into AI dominance. That's what they mean by reboot. Okay, when they say we need to do a system reset, that's what they mean. Okay, it's not people still doing work and jobs like people do now. No, everything being eroded and shifted over to AI. Okay, and that goes into the healthcare as well. All right. So it says here, experiments that once took enormous resources to pull off can now be conducted by a group of college kids working in a basement. I think it's more than that, but okay. It says we are far more vulnerable than most people realize. See, that's how they have it in their minds, and that's the typical American for you. Okay, they're very vulnerable because they have no idea what's going on. You see, in 2020, people were still kind of like, they were still animals and zombies and shit, but you know, there was still some semblance of humanity. You could still have a conversation with a random person in the street. You know, nowadays it's like people are just closed off. You don't even want to make eye contact with people. It's just weird energy. And if you happen to make eye contact, it's like, oh, why did I even look at this motherfucker? They're just weird. You know, it's just the world is just weird, man. You know, and that's what's made them vulnerable because now they've divided the people. People are fighting over anything and everything. You know, that's what's made people vulnerable. They're weak, all right, and they're just gonna follow along. It's not gonna take too much. It says, and it's just a matter of time before the next killer demic erupts. So just like the article said that there's a 30% chance that it's going to happen this year, I think the number is higher. much higher than 30%. Okay, because they've already mentioned one way that we could just have endemic. That's BF, bird flu. They've mentioned that multiple times. Now it's in the back of people's minds that, oh shit, because of bird flu, there was a shortage of eggs. You know what I'm saying? A few months ago, I believe earlier this year. Okay. Or because of BF, meat prices are going high because what? Oh, the angry bird is wiping out these animals and farms and factories and shit. So now we're gonna charge you more at the grocery store. But it doesn't end there, because now this thing that's killing all these animals that is making the food shortages happen. That same disease is also going to be jumping onto the people too. And apparently this thing has a 90% mortality rate. So what are they trying to tell us, man? Who knows all? How you know all this? Huh? Oh, there's a 90% mortality rate and it's in birds, but it's gonna mutate into humans. How do you know? How do you know all this, man? How do you know this? And if you know so much about it, why don't you stop it? Why are you telling us that it's gonna happen and we should be prepared for it? What you mean by that? So you're gonna wait for it to happen and then you're gonna jump in and say we're gonna save the day. But I thought you knew it was coming. You see? So this whole thing is just again, at this point, bro, if you don't see what's actually happening, there's nothing we could really say to you that's gonna make you see it. You know, because when these devils are coming out and doing all this, and yet people not even paying attention, yo, they're gone, bro. What are we gonna say that they're gonna hear? You know? We're not, see, at this point, we're just reporting what these devils are coming out and saying in front of everyone. You know? But yet, some way, somehow, they twist that and say, no, you guys are hating, you guys are the bad guys. We're just highlighting what's going on. You know? Continue, says, on Tuesday, I believe that was last week, the WHO organization, WHO organization is already in there, it says, adopted a demic agreement that is supposed to help it fight future demics. You hear that? Future demics. Future demics is what Yahawashi mentioned. He said what? Pestilences. So you had one demic, people think, oh, it's over, we're going. No. You forgot what Yahawashi said? It's called the afflictions. You see? And this is a quote from Tedros and them. He said, after 3 years of intensive negotiations, the WHO on Tuesday adopted the world's first agreement on how to cooperate and respond to future demics. You hear that? Without the support of the United States. The agreement was overwhelmingly passed in a vote of the World Health Assembly, an annual gathering of WHO member state delegations. 124 votes in favor, 11 abstentions, and no objections. That's a big problem. No objections. That means it went through. I mean, if you didn't, vote to be a part of it, then that's fine. But there was no objections. Like no one said, no country says, hey, listen, man, we're not with this part right here. What is this about? It's incredible. It says leaders of member states hailed the accords, right? Hailed it. Hail. Let's look up the word hail. When you hail something, it's almost like you're worshiping it, right? Let's see. It says here, wow, that's crazy. It says to greet or address with hail, to drink or toast, to call to from a distance. Okay. It says, I'm looking for a good one here. Oh wow, look. Also was a euphemism for hell. Wow, interesting. Hail. That's interesting. Let's see. It says frozen rain, pellets of ice falling. No, that's not the definition I'm looking for. To be healthy. Nope. Anyway, the point is made, right? Basically to adore and reverence, right? When you hail someone, it's like you adoring them, you putting them on a level, you know. So here they're saying, where'd I go? Right. Leaders of member states hailed the accords, including Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who called it a shared commitment to ensuring that no one is left behind. Ooh, he calls it all. Okay, no one is left behind, meaning that the infrastructure that's being built, you're gonna be left behind if you don't participate, if you don't comply. Okay, and if you're left behind, there's no you just left behind. No, you get locked up. You're a second class citizen. You're a threat to society. You're domestic tea. All these different things. Okay, you're dangerous. You have mental illness. And who's going to be behind all that? The J's through their media. Okay, because you're not complying. All right, it says, we are being told that this new demic agreement will result in, quote, greater international coordination and surveillance. According to the AFP report, the agreement aims to better detect and combat demics by focusing on greater international coordination and surveillance and more equitable access to Vanessas and treatments. Ooh. Wow. That's just great. It says, we're going to get more international coordination and more surveillance now. So precisely who is going to be in charge of implementing specific measures to ensure that there will be a greater international coordination and surveillance in the future? It's going to be the who that. Tedros is feeding for that power, man. It says this is a power grab. This is a power grab by the WHO, and WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus just issued a statement that expressed how thrilled he is about this. Okay, so again, these elites are excited. They're man. Remember, Revelation 12:12 says that he knoweth that he had but a short time. They're excited that the Lord is about to give them the go-ahead to finally do what they've been yearning to do. Okay? Which is to shed blood. That's Esau, man. All these weapons, all these, what we call toys that they got, they can't wait. Remember, the scripture says that the wicked is the Lord's sword. Okay? When the scripture says a sword is sharpened, is being furbished, and is given into the hand of the slayer. Okay, so the Lord is going to give them the command, and they're going to go buck wild. And that's all written in Ezekiel 9:4, verse 5 on down. Ezekiel 9, verse 4 and verse 5 and on down, I should say. Right? That the Lord gave the angel charge not to spare none. Okay? Men, women, children, maids, young ladies, whatever. Cook. That's it. And it's going to be done by the hands of these devils, man. Remember in Revelation, the 6th chapter, we read about the many different ways that they're going to bring destruction upon major populations. Okay? It says, the world is safer today thanks to the leadership, collaboration, and commitment of our member states to adopt the historic Hudat-Demic Agreement. Which is the One Accord Treaty. All right. The agreement treaty is a victory for public health, science, and multilateral action. See, we heard so much of the trust of science, and most people were tired of hearing that shit. You can't lock me down and tell me. Anyway, it will ensure we collectively can better protect the world from future demic threats. You hear that? Future demic threats. Not future demics, but just threats. That alone is important that he said that. Protect the world from future demic threats. And again, with the public health emergency of international concern thing that they always say, apparently once that is said, all right, in the sense that, oh, this is an emergency, it's over with. That the pandemic treaty takes effect, and it doesn't have to be a real demic. Again, Tedros, that is, he can just perceive it, or you know what? I woke up today, I'm not feeling too good. Hey, listen, man. Yeah, we're locking things down again. I slept on the wrong side of the bed last night, so I'm just perceiving that there might be. I woke up a little. There might be some demic, some potential outbreaks that could be happening in different parts of the states. So I'm calling for a lockdown in these various states, just like that. Whether people are actually sick or not, he just wakes up and he says, "Nah, you know what? I'm thinking it, so let's do it." That's the kind of power this guy is having right now, and they're gonna enforce these kind of ridiculous draconian powers with AI. You can't talk to AI. It's governing you based on yay and nay. You see. It says it is also a recognition by the international community that our citizens, societies, and economies must not be left vulnerable to again suffer losses like those endured during C-19. Well, C-19 was brought around by you devils. You set it all up. It says, thankfully, there are some global leaders that are speaking out against the Demic Agreement. They think this guy is, Robert F. Kennedy. They think he's actually fighting for the people, but he's not. Okay, we've said it time and time again. He's not. All his job is to demonize the current system now because a lot of people are against it, and to say, oh, we need a reset, we need a reboot, we need a da-da-da, right? And how is he going to do that? It's going to be the same shit, but just with AI now. That's it. You're still going to be taking Vanessa's and all that. You're still going to be doing all these gene therapy shit, but just with AI this time. You know? This is one of them is Robert F. Kennedy, quoted in pre-recorded remarks aired at the WHO Assembly. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy slammed the widely praised agreement and instead called for a reboot of the whole system. You hear that? That sounds very much like Klaus Schwab saying a global reset. Reboot of the whole system? You sound just like the World Economic Forum people, bro. How can people not see this? They use the same verbiage. They convey the same messages. But then they speak from both sides. Like, this guy is speaking from the right side. I'm speaking from the left side. You know, it seems like we're going against each other, but we're saying the same shit. Just in different ways. You know? They got the people fooled, man. All right? Reboot of the whole system. Come on, bro. It's just the WHO has not even come to terms with its failures during CV, let alone made significant reforms, Kennedy said. Instead, it has doubled down on the Demic Agreement, which will lock in, use the word lock, right? Lock in all the dysfunctions of the WHO Demic response. I can go so many ways with that, but I'm going to just leave it alone, right? It says the last Demic caused so much panic all over the globe, but I'm entirely convinced that future Demics will be much more deadly. You hear this? Many experts are closely watching the BF, the Angry Bird, because they believe it could soon start spreading widely among humans. I think it was an article that I saw that they were saying that the BF, the Angry Bird, is already spreading, like legit in different states, man. I forget exactly what state. Let me see if I can find that article. But basically, man, they already talking about it. Like, hey, this thing is becoming, it's a reality now. It's not becoming. It is. It is. Oh, look at this one right here. Doctors issue warning over dangerous new CV strain imported from China again. Now in multiple U.S. states. See? So it's very appropriate that all these things are happening now, especially after the one big beautiful bill that Trump is trying to pass into law, which will basically protect these Vanessa makers from any type of lawsuits. They're not liable for any injuries, none of that. Okay. And he's also bringing AI infrastructure into governance, into the medical field, into anything, commerce, all of it. You name it, banks, everything. There goes your beast system. All right. It says, according to one study, a deadly new strain of the BF or Angry Bird is killing 90% of the cats that it infects. Dang. 90%. Why are they doing all these tests on cats? You see, they're doing it so they can test it to make sure that they know how to deal with it when it comes to people, when they give it to the people. Okay? It says, yet the ways cats are getting BF or Angry Bird are multiplying. The ways they're getting is multiplying. The ways they're getting it is multiplying. Shit. Yeah, the study shows cats contract Angry Bird directly by eating infected birds or contaminated raw chicken feed, and indirectly through other mammals. Yo, most people's cats are in their house. When are they ever gonna get the chance to go eat infected birds and contaminated raw chicken feed and all this extra shit? They just be making shit up, man. And see, the thing is, fools will always fall for this stuff. You know, even if it's not there, they're gonna behave as if it's there, so they can protect themselves from something that is not there. That's amazing. I'm not gonna take my dog out because they say that, you know, it's tick season. Okay, they say in this tick season, you good. Your area ain't no ticks. You good, right? Or they're saying that, you know, dogs are eating, a damn infected birds and shit. Like, no specific what kind of bird. Give us incidents that these things have happened. They never give proof. They just say shit. You know, just for example, farm cats fed raw milk, from infected cows. Farm cats, where? It says pet cats to other pet cats. Tigers to other tigers. They got the tigers too, man. It's amazing. And people fall for this shit. It says infected cats often suffer from acute encephalitis, brain swelling, and other severe symptoms, which are mistaken for rabies, according to the study. Man, they about to create like zombies over here, yo. Like little people zombies, man. Got rabies and shit. You know? It says the most deadly strain of Angry Bird is highly infectious and makes up the majority of cases in domestic cats, with a current 90% case fatality rate. You hear that? So this same Angry Bird is jumping into people. It says, I was quite alarmed when I first read that. Of course, these are countless other. There are countless other diseases that could cause the next global endemic as well. See, the next global endemic. So they already know. Again, how should I talk about pestilences? We just don't know which disease it will be. Okay, but how should I talked about this? Okay, he talked about it. Mark 13, Luke 21. Okay. Let me see. All right, it's the last part of the article here. It says, this is what our future is going to look like. Millions upon millions of people will die during the great pestilences that are coming. Can you imagine the panic that this will cause? Most of the population is using this period of relative stability to party, but they should be using it to prepare. And that's exactly what the prophets have been saying. My elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down, we've been given the warning after warning after warning of these things that are yet to happen every day. And now you're starting to see, and that's what Yahawashi said. All right, it's going to be a time like never before. He said it's going to be like the time of Noah. You know, Noah was giving them the warning after warning after warning until that day when the floods came. Now everybody want to be like, oh, hey, no, it's too late. Okay, it's too late, man. All right, let me get a few precepts and we're gonna close it out. All right, it's too late, man. The Lord's about to wipe out millions of people. Okay, there's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 21 and verse 6. It says, and I will smite the inhabitants of this city, both man and beast. They shall die of a great pestilence. All right, so both man and beast. They said the BF is attacking beasts. You know, sheep, cattle, goats. You know, the swine, pork, right? The damn the cows, the chickens. Now they saying cats, tigers, right? The beasts, everybody getting that work. And now they're saying, oh, well, it got a 90% mortality rate. That sounds like the Lord's saying what he's saying. They shall die of a great pestilence. Okay? Both man and beast. All right? So, better prepare for that. Okay, again, that goes into what pestilence is, man. A murrain, if you will. Okay? A murrain. All right? But in all this, the Lord is still going to deliver his elect. All right? And that is our earnest expectation. Okay? That's why we have so much faith. All right? And when we speak the way we speak, because we know the Lord is going to what? He's going to come through. Okay? There's a book of Chronicles chapter 15, start off at verse 4. It says, But when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord Yahweh power of Israel and sought him, he was found of them. Right? Because in the time of trouble, we're going to call upon the Lord and we will find the Lord. Okay? He will make himself known unto us and help us out in the time of trouble. Okay? It says, And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. Okay? They said 194 nations have signed on to this accord, this treaty shit. All right? So that means they're about to oppress like never before in a name or an excuse for protecting the public. Okay? It says, verse 6, And nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city, for the Most High did vex them with all adversity. Right? So ultimately, it's going to be coming from the Lord. Okay? It says, Be ye strong, therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. All right? And that takes faith to go through all the things that we're going to go through and still get it to the end. All right? That takes faith. And it's going to take a great amount of faith. Greater amount of faith, man. Okay? Because this is it. This is it, man. So whatever you have, you give. Okay? There's no turning back at this point. These devils are not turning back, as you can see. They're bringing these things to play. Now they got to the legislation part. The one big, beautiful bill passes, it's over with. It's over with, man. And according to biblical prophecy, it does pass. And to the point where it goes to the Supreme Court. And that's when Chief Justice Roberts will have to rule on that. We're that close, man. We are that close. Okay? That close. Anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you are edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Racha Kudash, the water Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, and until next time, Shalom.